welcome back to Southern Nevada Sports News. Joining us on the line now, we have a Chargers Hall of Famer and the very first Aussie ever to play in the NFL, Darren Bennett, or Dazza as I like to call him. Welcome to the show, mate.
G'day, Jake, or Squid as I like to call you.
Thanks very much for joining us on the show, Daz. How's your day been so far?
Yeah, very good. Quiet Thursday for us down here in Southern California. It's 75 degrees as it is every day down here. So, it's, as you know, coming from down here when you first came over,
yeah, absolutely.
It's a nice place to live. So we enjoy it every day.
Absolutely. So I'll introduce you to my co-host, who's actually the owner of the team I'm playing for now, the Vegas Lions, Jeff Belknap, or Belko. We may as well keep the nicknames going now. So,
how you doing, Des?
As in Australia, mate, everyone's got a nickname.
Yeah, that was the first thing that Jake did was give me a couple nicknames, and then Wado,
right? Yeah.
He came with a Belko, so that's kind of been sticking. So that's good to go.
Thanks very much for joining us again, Darren. Appreciate it. I just want to go back before we get stuck into the Major League Football program, which is kicking off and you're heavily involved in. I just want to ask you to tell everyone the story about 1994, when you finished up playing Aussie rules back home, and your journey out into the NFL. I love the story about how it all transpired. So if you just want to give us a bit of a rundown about how that all happened.
Yeah, so I was playing in the NFL version of Australian rules football back in Australia, and every year as a sort of an end of season thing, they would have all these contests around the grand final, which is like our Super Bowl. And so one of the contests they used to have every year was a long kick competition. They try to find the longest kick in the AFL. And so in 1992, I was fortunate enough to win that contest, and the first prize was 2 tickets to Los Angeles. So
you beauty.
Yeah, you beauty. Exactly. Free trip to LA. So I told everyone at the time, my girlfriend, I was going to propose to her, and that would be our honeymoon was across to Los Angeles. So
nice.
In '94, came across and was doing a trip around the country, and our strength coach at the time, Chris Jones at Melbourne Football Club, called the Chargers on my behalf and got me a tryout. So I caught a train down from Seattle, and the next day, leery-eyed after sitting on a train for 36 hours, tried out for the Chargers. So I unfortunately had a good day there, and they asked me to come back, put me on practice squad that year, the year the Chargers went to the Super Bowl against the 49ers, and then stayed there for 11 years. So it was one of those things, the right place, right time, and, take a chance and change your life. So it's been a lot of fun, and 25 years later, I'm still stuck here, can't get out of California.
Nice. So that was Humphreys was your quarterback back in that year, right?
He was, correct.
Yeah.
My first year, I was on practice squad, and then after Brian Wagner moved on that year, I played in '95, and Hump was still my quarterback that year.
Yeah, I remember.
So what Darren has been fantastic for over the years too is actually helping out a lot of Australian guys that have come out, and you've housed a lot of them as well, haven't you, Dad, down in San Diego? So just want to say thanks.
Yes, my wife Rosemary is like the den mother to every Australian that's ever come across, whether they know it or not, because she follows them all on Facebook, so she knows what college kids are out there, every Australian. So, and how that sort of started, Jake, was there was a young guy a few years ago who had a full ride scholarship over to the University of Arizona, and he got homesick and he pulled up stumps and went home, and so Matt McBride, Sav Rocker, Ben Graham, and I sort of took that as a personal thing where we failed a young man who'd come across from the other side of the world. So we all decided to try and support all the Aussie kids and make sure that they knew we were here, and if they ever got homesick, there was a phone call that could be made, and we'd give them a VB, an Aussie beer, a meat pie,
Nice.
and a lamb chop or something like that, just so that they wouldn't give up that opportunity for being homesick.
Yeah,
so
that's great.
That's
Definitely.
sort of how we became the pace for everyone over here.
Definitely. Now, did I mention I was coming over for Thanksgiving in a couple of weeks?
Well, that's good, mate, but I'll be in Texas for that.
Okay. Likely story. No, absolutely, and it's fantastic, and a lot of the guys really do appreciate that as well, Daz. Obviously, I'm with Pro Kick Australia, which is Nathan Chapman, and I know you actually housed Nathan for a little while when he first came out as well, didn't you? Back in the, what was that, about
I was in Minnesota, and he just got cut by Green Bay. He wasn't sure what to do. I think he really thought he had the job at Green Bay, and it was a bit of a shock to him, so they spent a week with us on their way home. Just trying to sort things out and see what's going on. And Nathan's gone on to bigger and better things since then, obviously.
Yeah, absolutely,
Doing
absolutely. He's sent a lot of guys over recently, and it's only going to continue to gather momentum with guys doing really well at big colleges too. Now, we'll just move forward onto the Major League Football stuff for a second, Darren, if that's okay. Talk us through. I know there's another specialist camp coming up. I was actually down at the one in San Diego, and it was a really well-run camp. That was probably my first thoughts on it. It was really well-run. Guys didn't have to wait around for too long, and a lot of the times at camps like this, you can go and you're waiting 3 or 4 hours for a punt, but really well organised. And I know that there's quite a bit of money back in this league as well. So tell us a little bit about that league and when it's all kicking off.
Yeah, look, over the years, Squid, I've been retired 11 years. There's been a lot of leagues come and go, and a lot of them have asked myself and Michael Husted, who runs Husted Kicking, and he was the reason really that camp is so well organised. He's been doing this, professionally ever since he retired from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, as I have been from San Diego. But Mike runs a website. He has all sorts of stuff organised, as far as structure's concerned. So he organises these camps. He runs them every weekend all over the country. And so, one of the things that we used to hate was being at training camp and sitting around for 2 hours and click their fingers and having you to go to punt. So it was one of the things we're very conscious of, is having guys just come in while they're fresh and hit their best punt. So where the Major League Football league has sort of come out of, Wes Chandler, who is one of the fellow Charger Hall of Famers from San Diego, is the commissioner of the league. And what we really like about these guys is they've sort of flown under the radar. They didn't come out with a big media press release and say, we're going to do this and we're going to beat that and we're going to kick the NFL off TV on Sundays, which a lot of these leagues have done over the years. Yeah. And they floated on the stock exchange on Wall Street and got very well funded. And even though they're sort of doing it quietly, I think, this is one of the leagues, hopefully, cross our fingers, that, we don't have anything to do with whether it succeeds or whether it doesn't. But I think they're trying to do it the right way. And I had the benefit of playing in NFL Europe after my practice squad year, which was a spring league that sort of fed players into the NFL. And it was a great place for guys that were on the edge of getting on and off NFL rosters to get themselves on film for 10 games during the off-season, so that the teams the NFL teams that were looking to pick them up could see them live in a professional situation.
Absolutely. We're just gonna have to cut it off for a second there, Daz. Jeff gives his tips every week, so just hold the line for 1 second while we get these tips out.
Actually, I'll post my picks on Twitter. Actually, let everyone know how to get a hold of the league. I mean, if there's anyone interested in playing or where these tryouts are, tell us where we can actually find these combine dates.
Is that me or Squeaky one?
That's for you, man. That's for you.
MLFB.com. So it'll be MajorLeagueFootball.com. MLFB.com is the website. So you go there, all the information's on the website.
Fantastic, and make sure you put my name forward for the punter position as well, Daz, won't you?
Hey, I'll tell you this, man. I'm happy to hear that Wes Chandler is the guy. He's one of my favorite receivers growing up. Dan Fouts and Kellen Winslow and all those guys. So I was a Chargers fan because of Wes. I actually didn't know he's the commissioner, so I'm kind of psyched about that. So next time we come down here, you got to introduce me to him.
Yeah, definitely. And so, the punting and kicking side of the camps is sort of done now, and we'll go into a conference call with all the coaches. And there's other guys that have been, on NFL teams, rosters and training camps last year that haven't been on those lists, and I know some of those guys are on the radar. But the bulk of the guys that will go to training camp, there'll be 16 punters, 16 kickers, and 16 long snappers go and compete for the 8 jobs in Major League Football, and they will come hopefully from the guys that we've seen at those camps. So our job is to show the guys in a pressure situation, which we did, and then have the coaches make a decision, and there'll be a draft in I think January, and then training camp begins 18th of February in Sarasota, Florida. All teams will go there, and then they'll compete against each other pre-season before they go to their their own sins.
Great.
Awesome.
Look forward to the phone call. Thanks very much for joining us, Daz. Appreciate
Thank
it,
you,
mate.
sir.
We'll speak to you soon.
Good on you, boys.
Thanks, Daz.
Have a good one.
And that brings us to the end of the show. Thanks very much, Belko.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate it. So your tips will be up on the Twitter feed.
On the Twitter,
Yep.
SN Sports News on Twitter, and then also SN Sports News on Facebook.
Thanks very much for joining us, guys. We'll see you next week.